Hello, everybody. Please like and subscribe. If you subscribe, you love the mighty Villa. Everton nil, Aston Villa nil. I watched this with the London Lions in Chinatown in Soho. Um, Great group of guys. We played a friendly earlier, then went straight on to watch the game. Wasn't the most exciting, was it? I think that if you were to convince somebody who didn't like football or had never watched football, if you were to tell them about all the greatest moments you've ever had watching football, such as Ashley Young's last minute winner at Goodison Park, or Villa beating Man City 1-0, and uh, if you were to think of all the most special moments you can think of as a football fan, and you said to them, right, today's the day. Today is the day you are going to become a football fan. You will be converted, right, to the religion that Professor Unai is a leading light in, a god on Mount Olympus himself. And you what made them watch Everton Aston Villa today, they would never talk to you again. You would get ghosted. Just like my dating life in the past, you would never hear back. I still wonder about that. Why, surely on dates when all I talked about for 3 hours on end was Aston Villa in the 4-4-2 formation, surely that was attractive. Yeah? Don't understand why no one ever called me back. But anyway, look, um, wasn't particularly exciting, was it? Look, uh, I think that a lot of Aston Villa's build-up play today was absolutely exceptional. We've got used to watching Aston Villa playing from the back, from Martinez into the defense, into the midfield, trying to build up to the final third. We have got very, very used to this now. But every now and again, you have to stop and think, bloody hell, like our ability to not get panicked when Everton are pressing us, to work our way out of tight situations, it's just brilliant. Like so to my mind today, I actually thought the build-up play from Villa, from goalkeeper right all the way up to the final third, was excellent in many moments today. But it was just in that final third we couldn't quite get that moment, could we? Um, we had chances, Yonderan super touch he had on there from Matty Cash's ball in, just going wide. Um, and a couple of moments, sort of like nearly moments, like didn't quite just have that killer instinct today, I think. Um, Now, I think first and foremost, something I will say is that I felt this game was very difficult to get any kind of flow in it. It felt like it was just relentless stop start. Now, part of that is partly kind of a bit Sean Dyche Burnley tactics. Get into the other team, make it hard for them, disrupt the flow of the game, particularly when it's Villa who like to pass it around. Um, Put them off their game and don't let them get into their flow. And that objective was achieved. That said, I think another part of it was kind of on the referee. Now, on this podcast, I generally never ever go after referees, okay? Because by and large, I think it's a boring topic of discussion a lot of the time, refereeing. Um, and also I think they get such intense amounts of abuse that a lot of them are just going to walk out of the game. A lot of them, they're human beings, so they're obviously going to feel this as well. And on top of that, if we just keep abusing referees and officials all the time, you're never going to end up with top level officials coming into the game because they'll think, why bother? And you're just going to end up with a sea of mediocrity. That said, you can still objectively say a referee has not had a good performance. I go back to Mike Dean Wolves Villa a couple of years ago when it was 1-1 and he was booking every player, every moment, all the time. And it annoyed the players even more, disrupted the game, and led to the game becoming more feisty than it needed to be. And that objectively was a terrible refereeing display. Today, I thought the referee, I think it was the same one we had against Bournemouth, Brentford as well. It's like he had no authority. It was like he was making inconsistent decisions that were winding the players up. And that in itself was kind of disrupting the flow of the game. He would give fouls when there didn't need to be a foul. He'd give bookings when you think, well, you've booked him for this, but what about that guy? Or bookings that just weren't bookings, or I don't know. It just kind of felt like he had a lack of certainty about him that I think ebbed into the game, and it's a little bit of a repeat of what happened to Brentford. So yeah, I think the refereeing display did play into it a little bit, though. That Unai Emery's never going to say that because he's a top level coach and he wants to focus on the game really and not just go on about referees all the time. But objectively, you can say this, so I thought, yeah. And on top of that, when I talk about the flow of the game, the VAR call for Alex Moreno's goal. Right. All right. I'll start with the game building up to that goal. Everton in the first 10 minutes did exactly what you need to do to Aston Villa away from home. We have conceded a lot of early goals away from home this season, and it tends to be because the other team are high energy, the crowd's at its loudest, and Villa have not yet settled into their flow. So the opposition physically try to bully us a bit. They get at us. Trying to get that early goal so that then they can sit into a shape where they can force Villa to come at them and then try and hit them on the break and get a second goal to win it. Nottingham Forest, for example, did that. Now, um, Everton nearly scored in the first 10. There was a hairy moment there. But we got through that and then just managed to get into the ascendancy. And then so after the 10th minute, there were about 15, 20 minutes of Villa being really, really on top, working their way into the game. And you could feel like a goal was coming. And particularly what was happening was that Alex Moreno seemed to have the run of the park out on the left. The amount of times he had space, it was like either Harrison wasn't tracking him back or Coleman wasn't coming to him, or the positions that Moreno was occupying, it was almost like within Everton's shape, it's like no player really knew when to go stick or twist to go at him. So Moreno was really causing Everton a lot of problems, I thought. So the Villa are in the ascendancy, gets a corner, and eventually Alex Moreno scores a fantastic goal. Right, brilliant finish. Now, in comes VAR. This check was so confusing and went on for 5, 6 minutes. I still now have absolutely no idea why the goal was ruled out. I don't know. Was it offside? I was in a pub, so maybe I didn't hear it on commentary. Was it the Bailey offside? Because the thing is, I spent so long looking at it. You had the Everton player at the back post jostling with the Villa player, and he just falls over. Then it shows Bailey kind of looking marginally offside. But the fact of the matter is, when they show that angle, they don't show when the ball is passed to him. So from that angle, I can't tell if he's offside because I can't see when the ball is passed to him. It could be the case that the ball wasn't yet sent to him, and Bailey's moved forward another second later. Then the ball's passed to him and he's onside. But because of the angle, I can't see it. Right? Um, which goes for the same for everybody else. And then after that, the VAR runs on again, and you've got this second phase of playing. It's like, are they trying to see if Longway's blocking Pickford's uh, line of sight? Like, what are they looking for here? And it just went on and on and on. And then what happened was, once it was disallowed, Villa had lost the ascendancy. They'd lost the flow, and it disrupted the flow of the game. And it felt like that was happening all the time today for various different reasons. And it reminded me of the Bournemouth game. Do you remember at Bournemouth when it went to 1-1, Leon Bailey scored the equaliser? 10 minutes after that, Aston Villa were all over Bournemouth. And eventually it led to Diego Carlos scoring a goal, 2-1. But then, oh, what do you know? We're going to do an offside check. And again, it went on and on and on and on. And once it finally came to the decision that Luca Dean's hair follicles were offside, the flow of the game's gone. And Villa's build up and the ascendancy we've built, it's gone. So part of the problem with VAR, I talked about this with George um, a friend from the London Lions in the pub earlier, is that a lot of it would be solved if they brought in automated offsides, right? Because I feel like when you watch the World Cup, and they've had VAR at two World Cups now, I barely notice VAR at World Cups. It seems like it just happens really quickly. And then you've got like the offsides are automated, so that's quick anyway as well. Now, for some reason, the Premier League have insisted on not having automated offsides. I'm telling you, this a lot of this would be solved instantaneously, and the flow of the game would return rapidly if they just brought in automated offside. But also, what's happening is it feels like the amount of checks they had for that goal or disallowed goal for Moreno today, it felt like there was just a level of uncertainty that the referee showed himself on the pitch today, and it felt like, uh, it's probably a knock-on effect from what happened again with Tottenham Liverpool with the Liverpool goal that should have been onside, and they made the mistake on VAR. Whether they've just got overcautious or not, I don't know, but it is becoming a problem. It's taking too long. Uh, they have to sort it out somehow. Um, I go back to the Sheffield United game as well at Villa Park, which I was at. There were like a million VARs in that as well, and it just went on forever. And like, again, it was clearly a handball at Sheffield United, but they didn't give the pen. Oh God, whatever. Look, again, like I said, I rarely talk about refs and I rarely talk about VAR because it's so fucking boring. But God Almighty, like it affected the game today, and it's affected the game in previous matches we've had. So anyway, um, as for Villa, um, so it felt like you know once that flow had gone, Everton did work their way back a bit in the first half, and they of course had that absolute gilt edged chance for Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Where Diego Carlos was going at that moment in time, I have no idea. He left Longley very, very exposed. Longley held his position. Carlos is running forward. I don't know what he's doing. Longley has a lot. Sorry, Carlos has a lot of very, very positive attributes, but there are some times I look at him and I think a little bit. I prefer Conser, is what I'd say. But uh, it is amazing that you have a goalkeeper of the level of Emi Martinez. He's the best in the world for me. What a save that was from Calvert-Lewin. Because Martinez has an aura, doesn't he? When you're bearing down a goal as a striker and you see Martinez coming at you, you think it's bloody Emi Martinez. He saves everything. That Colin Moani save in World Cup final, um, being his finest hour. And then sort of shortly after that, he saved from, I think it was James Garner. Fantastic save. To have a goalkeeper like that, is he saves us so a lot. He's incredible. Don't listen to Jamie Carragher going on all the time about Allison being the best in the world. Allison, Edison, Martinez are the three best in my opinion, and I would have Martinez over anyone else in the world. Why? He's unbelievable. Um, but aside from that, uh, got through that. Second half, again, I think Everton worked their way back into it. I think they were very well coached by Sean Dyche to disrupt the game. I think they worked so hard, very difficult to play against, physically. Uh, and then had one or two moments where they could have got through but didn't. But that said, for Aston Villa to sort of dominate the game the way we did, 69% possession, what does it say about Aston Villa that we go to Goodison Park to Everton, who are, if you add on the 10 points they've had taken away, are a pretty solid mid-table team in the Premier League. For us to go there and feel disappointed that we've come away from a really physical, hard, quite nasty game and disappointed we haven't won, it says everything about where Villa are. Now, yes, I'm going to need a water here. Now, yes, if you want to finish in the Champions League places, you know, by and large, the teams that finish in the top four in a game where they're as ball dominant as Villa were today at Everton, they probably are going to get the winner. Um, so, it's disappointing in that sense. I think overall, the displays, you'd say, I think Diaby and Bailey, I think Bailey's been fantastic this season. But the two of them were slightly off it today. It's like they couldn't quite get into the rhythm. Um, I think Watkins had Tarkovsky to beat, just couldn't quite find a moment to get a goal. Yonduran, I think, did well when he came on, actually. One or two wild moments that he usually has, but also um, I think he was effective. I think he is super effort to get his foot on the ball, but just so unlucky for it not to go in after the cash cross. Um, but I think a big shout out to Clement Longley. I think Longley is not Pau Torres on the ball. Torres is an amazing player when he with his distribution. Longley, I think, was good at distributing today. Um, but defensively was really solid. And at the end of the game, Jack Harrison, I think it was, sent a whipped ball into the area very late on. And you were thinking, oh, God, are Everton going to get their goal here? And Longley stretched out, cleared it. That was brilliant piece of defending. I think full credit to Longley today. He doesn't play often, but I think he's done well for us by and large whenever he has. Um, other than that, like I say, I think the build-up play at times was exceptional. It was just in that final third we couldn't find a moment, and that is definitely something I think that Unai Emery and Maguire are going to be working on in the next few weeks. Um, Other than that, really, there's not a lot more to say. Just frustrating we couldn't get the win. Fair play to Everton. They made it hard and difficult. Uh, I, I think they'll be fine. I don't think they'll go down. Um, and Yeah, again, like looking at Villa, you are. It's also worth remembering, in these games where there are these sort of deeper defenses or tougher defenses, there are moments where we're sort of not quite finding that little bit of intricacy. You do wonder would Buendia be able to offer something a little bit different in that regard. He is a slightly different profile of player to what we've got. Jacob Ramsey was missing today. I think he'd have been useful to have. Pau Torres was missing. As I said, Buendia as well. These key players that are missing, and so that obviously has an impact. Uh, so yeah, it's going to be. Yeah, it's just interesting to think like how do we sort of react to these defenses going forward, and that's something definitely in the second half of the season I'm interested to see. Um, Very positive about Villa though. I think we're still such a good football team. Um, and the last four games, you look at it, we drawn with Sheffield United, lost to Man United, having been 2-0 up, beat Burnley just about, beat Middlesbrough obviously, but then drew with Everton. So we're not quite in the elite form we have been for most of this season. Um, but got to kind of put that right next time out against Newcastle at home. Newcastle, I think might be slightly more defensive than they usually would be against Villa. I think they might try and sit a bit deeper and then try and send balls to beyond the high line to players running from deep, like saying Anthony Gordon. They'll press us, they will, but I also wouldn't be surprised if they're a little bit deeper than they were last season when we beat them 3-0. Um, but Tuesday night under the floodlights, crowd are going to be up for it. Uh, Absolutely a game we can win after what we did to them last season, and a big opportunity, I think, to get 3 points there. We absolutely have to take it. Chelsea is next away, obviously in the FA Cup, slightly different. But yeah, I think league wise, be good to get a win quickly. You don't want to just sort of get into a bit of middling form. We want to keep, you know, chasing as much as we can the Liverpool and Man City, because as I say, Arsenal and Spurs aren't going to relent this season. They're going to keep coming. So top four is going to be a real bloody fight this season. But anyway, let me know what you think. Frustrating, not the most entertaining game, was it? But is what it is. Way it goes sometimes. Please like and subscribe. Let me know what you think about the game. And up the mighty Villa.